It's about damn time. It's about damn time.
Indeed, LeBron, it is about damn time. The whole Melo sweepstakes has taken way too long to end, and it finally has in a bizarre situation that no one really expected. Once again, the OKC Thunder have came out of left field to snatch a star player from a team that was desperate to move them. Towards the start of the offseason, they got Paul George for pennies on the dollar, and right before training camp begins, they steal Carmelo from the Knicks for a backup center and a shooter who can't shoot. But before we look at what the Melo trade means for the Thunder, I want to talk about how well the Thunder's management has done this offseason. Let's take this back to 2015 at the trade deadline. The Thunder acquire Enes Kanter in a 3-team trade where they gave up Reggie Jackson, who was obviously a talented player, but he wasn't getting much of an opportunity on the Thunder. Then fast forward to the 2016 NBA Draft, the Thunder trade Serge Ibaka, a really good role player, for Victor Oladipo and a pick that was used to draft Sabonis. Then fast forward to the 2017 trade deadline, where the Thunder trade Cameron Payne, a terrible player, for Taj Gibson and Doug McDermott. Then in the offseason, the Thunder trade Oladipo and Sabonis for Paul George. Then they trade Kanter and McDermott for Carmelo Anthony. So the Thunder turned Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, and Cameron Payne into 2 all-star forwards. Just wanted to point that out because as a Bulls fan, I'm used to shit management, so it's nice to see what a good front office looks like. Now, what does the Melo trade mean for the Thunder? Well, I would have said that the Thunder were the 4th best team in the West before this trade happened, but after, I'd put them over both the Spurs and the Rockets, making them the 2nd best team in the Western Conference. Not because just the added talent of Melo makes them way better by default, but because of the way that they can use that added talent. Melo being added to this team makes the Thunder better with more than just his own abilities, because with Melo, the Thunder can now have a great offensive option on the floor at all times, even 2 at most times. Last season, with Westbrook off of the floor, the Thunder had a 111 offensive rating, and without him, they had a 100 offensive rating. The Thunder also averaged more turnovers, were worse on the boards, and worse on defense. So essentially, anytime Westbrook was on the bench, the Thunder sucked ass. The most extreme example of this came in the first round of the playoffs this year, with the Rockets beating the Thunder in Game 5, where with Westbrook, the Thunder outscored the Rockets 90-78, but with Westbrook off of the court, the Rockets outscored the Thunder 27-9. So any offense that wasn't in the hands of Russ was a real struggle for the Thunder last season. But now, when Russ is on the bench, either Paul George or Carmelo Anthony, or both, will be on the court to generate offense. So the Thunder could stagger the minutes to have either one of those 3 guys in at different times, and with Melo and George being able to play the 2 through 4, the Thunder could be very versatile in their lineup. Besides for these 3, there is Steven Adams, who is a great defender and solid rebounder, and their only real offseason signing, Patrick Patterson, who is basically a very poor man's Draymond Green, who is a better shooter. He can switch on defense and even play the small ball center role in small doses. There's also Jeremy Grant, who I think is a really underrated 3-and-D guy. Roberson will bring his defense, and Raymond Felton could be decent off of the bench. The one problem with this team will be the backup center spot. I don't think Nick Collison should be expected to play big minutes at this point in his career, so trading for a center would be ideal. Maybe they could move their draft selection Terrence Ferguson and a pick for a backup. Now, can this team beat the Warriors? Well, on paper, no. However, what is on paper isn't all there is to consider when talking about sports. There are upsets all the time, and I think that there is an emotional aspect for this team that could take them over the Warriors. Russell Westbrook, whether he says it or not, would love nothing more than to eliminate KD and the Warriors. And I think Melo and PG on the Thunder will also partake in this quest for vengeance. And I will say that I think that they are good enough to push the Golden State Warriors to 6 games at least. If I had to put my money on it, I'd still bet on the Warriors, but I'd give the Thunder a chance. And that leads to today's question of the day, and that question is, what was your reaction to the Carmelo Anthony trade? Because it kind of came out of nowhere. It's like it just came out yesterday that OKC was added to Melo's list of acceptable traded to teams, and then they said they were negotiating, and then the deal was made. It happened in an instant, basically. And in the last question of the day, I asked who you guys thought was an underrated defender, and George McLean said he's not underrated as a defender by the people who know who he is, but Robert Covington is probably the most slept-on defender currently in the NBA. I agree. I've always been a big fan of Robert Covington as a 3-and-D player. Diogo Ferreira, I hope I said that right, said, I would say Raja Bell. Nobody talks about him, but even Kobe went out and said that he was a difficult defender to go against. Yeah, if the Mamba says you're good at defense, then you're good at defense. And finally, the dime dropper said Serge Ibaka. Everyone thinks he's fallen off on defense, but it's only because he plays away from the basket. He also can switch to contain guards relatively good. Yeah, people think Ibaka has dropped off because he isn't blocking shots like crazy anymore, but it's simply not true. He used to be just a shot blocker, but he now switches and plays more perimeter defense than he used to. He's actually improved, but as a result of the versatility, his block stat has dropped off. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.
I dare you play your cards, boy, you bet I'm a trendsetter too. Fire when the strong hits you.
That's it, Brian? Yes.